Today we are going to be upgrading the electronics on the Rebelcon. Is the Rebelcon a vehicle that you want to buy? So today I'm going to do what I do to pretty much every vehicle, and that is upgrade the electronics. Is that something that you do on your rigs? Do you upgrade your electronics, or do you usually rock them with the stock electronics until they fail? Let me know in the comments and I will get into this. So the first thing, I've already taken the bolts out of the motor mount. You can see it's got this really cool sliding motor mount, and 2 bolts, it was already in there. I took them out, and to get this out, maybe just show you on this overhead camera, you pull it out a little bit until you can push that motor down and kind of out of the way. And once you get it out of the way enough, let's say, yeah, towards the middle of the rig, yeah, over here there's more space, then you can just pass it out sideways like this, so you don't have to drop your transmission. It's a really tight fit, but it is possible to get this in and out without dropping the transmission off the frame, which is nice. Just barely though. So I am going to replace the ESC and the motor. So let's pull those out. And I will also be replacing the servo. So let's see. Does the ESC pass underneath the frame rail? I think I'm gonna have to take that rail off otherwise, or I'll have to cut wires. No, I won't have to cut the wires. I can pass it through that way. All right, I need to plug this back in for LiPo, lithium polymer. Indeed. All right, and we got this out, and I will go ahead and change our motor mount over. I'm replacing it with a Crawlmaster Sport 550 12 turn. I actually would rather go with a 13 turn on this particular replacement because I feel like it's geared just a hair too high, and I don't have any pinions that are here. It looks like the stock 16 tooth pinion is about as small as it can fit, but I bet it would still mesh properly with a 15 tooth 32 pitch pinion. That is just a guess though, because I don't have one here, but maybe I just found one. Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 would be 14. That's a 13. Yeah, much too small, I think, to mesh. I don't think it would go far enough over. And I got this pinion nice and tight, but it is good that this is the larger grub screw size. Would that be a 2 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter? Looks like this stock motor just has a bushing on the face. Pretty typical for a stock motor. It also doesn't have a flux ring. So judging or basing my intuition on what I should change the motor to from the stock motor may not actually be a good base, because this is a 21 turn 550, and I wanted something slower for the gearing. If I was smart, I would have done a quick test outside to get a better baseline between the two, but c'est la vie, she has been taken out. All right, and this is going to install that way. Now, the difficult thing on this is going to be the pinion mesh depth. Make sure we keep these a little loose. I cannot visibly see what's going on for the pinion mesh, but I did measure, and it should be just right for this old style Crawlmaster to have the end of our mesh here, the end of our teeth, be right at the end of the shaft. That should be just right. On newer versions, there's going to be a little bit more shaft sticking out, just like the stock motor had. The reason why we made that change was because of Red Cat vehicles. The pinion wouldn't quite fit on Red Cat vehicles without about an extra 3 millimeter of shaft. So we made that change. This is an older style motor. There we go. And before I put this in, I'm actually going to shorten these up. We got a lot of wire length. This is just going to be sitting right here up front, right there. Now, if you don't want to go with the BRXL because of the price, the Hobbywing 1080 would be my second choice, but I have a 1080 here, I have a BRXL here. The BRXL is quite a bit smoother, and so that is going to be my choice. Let's see where my side cutters go. I think I may have hidden them out right in front of me. Hid them from myself in plain sight. All right, we don't really need hardly anything, just enough wire to be able to reach these with our fingers. So I was thinking about doing a direct solder job to the motor, but it'd look clean, but it would also make it to where I wouldn't have my plugs on the ESC. And is there a good way? Nope. I'm just adding a little bit of solder to help me transfer heat. Remove the old wires. Now we need to strip and tin. Strip and tin. And I usually just shoot this jacket somewhere into the room for me to find later. But yeah. Yeah. There we go. That's fine, that's fine. All right, we're gonna install this guy. Slider in. Actually, we're gonna replace the servo before we put this in. We can see that it fits in and out. I'll go ahead and test fit it with the stock servo, because the servo that I'm going to replace it with is the low profile, the SHV 500 LP. It will still be much more powerful than stock, but it'll also be a little bit shorter and lighter and better clearance, which really isn't a big deal. Oh, I got it stuck now. And because of the heft of this rig, I suppose well, I don't know if it's actually lighter because it is all metal case, all metal gear, as opposed to the stock. I was gonna say, using a lighter servo would actually potentially increase our center of gravity on the rig because it is so heavy up top with everything, but we're just gonna go with this. We are gonna go with that. And I gotta get the first servo out, which now means unscrew the battery, radio case. Unscrew the battery case. Have a go with that. All right, I'm pretty sure that this is not metric, this is 5/64, but it fits good, so I'm going with it. I can hear that my cameraman had a delicious breakfast as well. Have you had a delicious breakfast lately? Maybe omelets with onion, green peppers, maybe some cheese, was it? Did you get some cheese on there? Anything else? Onions, peppers, cheese?
A little bit of turkey, seasoned up turkey sausage.
Ooh, and some turkey sausage in it too. I already ate early lunch today, but I'm getting hungry. It sounds like a delicious lunch. All right. Ah, yes. That screw is feeling a little stripped. I'm glad that it was not. And like normal, I'm probably not even going to put this receiver box top back on. Oh yeah, it's a jumble in there. It's a jumble in there. All right, there's our servo. Blam, blam. And ESC. Oh yeah, that's a mess. Perfect. This is 1060. Made by Hobby Wing. Really not the smoothest. Kind of touchy down below. Into the bin you go. All right, so we got our ESC. I shall go ahead and pull that through. There we go. Oh. Brown to the outside, like all the rest. Ground to the outside of the pins. Then. It's in there now. should, in theory, be able to reach the servo from here. Indeed. All right, I'll take the horn off first, or we may have to go through the, yeah, I'm gonna have to go through here. This is a 25 tooth servo horn, which it should just swap right on. That one's metric. Standard. I don't know why I've got my standards and my metrics all mixed up right now, but what I do. It's almost there. Wiggled off. There we go. This will help greatly. An old Black & Decker gyro and the Vanquish tips with their little 1/4 inch drive adapters. Let's see, looks like it'll be this one. Oh, don't want to strip it. There we go. Now that the motor is out, we can actually take this servo just right through there. Perfect. All right, let's see. I'm pretty sure this LP is actually heavier. Yeah, so that'll be good. It'll be good for our center of gravity. Now, what I would actually like to test out first while we're on the bench is plugging this in direct. The output on the Torque Master BRXL is, I believe, 6 volts. So we're going to test this at, slow, low voltage and see how it does. It'll be interesting. And I've got an adapter so that I can run it. This no solder adapter. It's got a couple of JSTs coming off of it. I can just plug that in between my ESC and my battery since I don't have a JST installed. And you'll have to ignore all the other JSTs. I believe those are low voltage, 5 volt LED system. And the final one. This is the hardest part of the upgrade. Perfect. I'm just going to plug some stuff up, boot it up. We need to center first. All right, this is plugged in. We do need to center our servo before we put the horn on, and that way we'll know that it's not going to try to do a 180 on us or something like that. And since this can be powered directly through, even though it's a high voltage servo, super high voltage from 2S to 4S LiPo, we can actually power it off of even 5.5 volts, 6 volts. It works a little bit better. And use that for either testing. Well, I don't need to. I was gonna say I don't need to plug in this, but that will at least let us know what's going on. There we are. Barely hear the servo. These are very quiet servos, and I will center our horn. Gonna have to wiggle it just to find where it wants to go on. There we go. And probably just reuse the stock servo horn screw. Looks to be a 3mm, but one does come with the SHV. Actually, let's just see. Let's just make sure that we're not putting an extremely long screw into it. Yeah, it does have kind of short screws. We'll use a short screw. The SHV 500 LP also comes with this little harness, which is how you would plug it into your battery for the main pack power. This would be your adapter from the JST, goes into this adapter. This part goes to your servo, and this part goes into your radio. There we are. So I will plug that in a little later, but first, I want to test it out at this 6 volt level. Normally I'd suggest put a little bit of Loctite on this, I'll just keep an eye on it, and if it starts to back out, I will add some Loctite. Oh, it was eyeballing me right here. I'm gonna do it. Metal on metal, just a little bit. It was just staring at me while I was saying that. Trying to be lazy. Just staring at me, old Loctite. Bam, we're good. Man, that's not that slow. It's about the same speed as the stock was. Oh, but it is rubbing. It is a slightly lower profile servo, so it is rubbing. We're gonna have to have a little spacer behind it. Yeah, I was wondering about that, but now we know. We'll just put some washers behind it. Oh, you know what? We could probably just switch to a Vanquish servo horn. I'm gonna do that. It's like one of those puzzles when you're a child. Where did it go? Where did it go? There it is. All right. Boom. Clamping, 25 tooth, 24 millimeter gray. Here we go. Found it. Oh yeah, that's tight, and it looks like it clears. All right, we have again booted up the servo, and indeed the Vanquish servo horn lets this servo just bolt right up. All right, we gotta compress the suspension so that we can get at the servo. There we go. A little heave ho, heave ho. Oh, but it doesn't hit. Doesn't hit, we're going with it. All right, now we have the servo in. I did need to use a Vanquish servo horn so that it wouldn't contact our locker actuating device. If you didn't want to fiddle around with, not using the stock horn, if you wanted to reuse the stock horn instead of the SHV 500, you could use the SHV 650 model, and that one should bolt right in. It's got a little bit more forward mount to it. Yes, that's actually pretty fast for only being on 6 volts, and it will stall out. It's compressing the little servo saver thing that they have built into it. So now we can button up the rest of the electronics. Very nice. Ooh, I even have some zip ties. How about that? We'll just zip tie it like it originally was. Now, I'm not going to put the radio back in because I'm going to attempt to run the servo on higher voltage. Now, we get to use this adapter right here. So the servo plugs into it. We have, let's see, signal there. And before we go any further, I shall test. Now, let's see how much faster this thing moves on 3-cell versus 6-cell. Yeah, and let's see how powerful the steering is. Oh yeah, much better. It is still just compressing that servo saver that it's got up front. So if you want to get your full steering power going above upgrade, then really you're gonna have to either disassemble that fake shock thing. It's got shocks on the inside, but you'll either have to disassemble it and shove washers inside to just put a straight servo link, a harder link. All right, let's get our steering centered. There we go, and yeah, looking good, nice and snappy. All right, we'll unplug. Turn this off. Now I get to put the radio cover back on because I said that I wouldn't do it, so I should probably do it. There we are. Now the motor. The motor is the only thing left. All right, going back in with stock gearing. I don't think we can go much lower than stock gearing without an aftermarket motor plate, just because of the way the pinion mesh is. Let me know if there is an aftermarket motor plate or if you have changed your gearing to something smaller. There is a chance that I could read the instruction manual and get these answers, but you know how that goes. All right, we're gonna tighten that down a little bit. I just basically let gravity rest. Sounds smooth. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of clacky clack. We'll call it good. I can't see it, so that's as good as we can do. We'll plug it in. We will see if the direction is proper. And if it is proper, then we can take it out for tea and crumpets. All right, it's forward. Ooh, touchy. Should have opened up the deadband on this one. Well, forward is green, but it goes backwards. So, being a brushed motor of reversing qualities, we swap the motor wires. And we have green for go, red for stop. Nice and smooth. You can hear a little bit of audible. I could turn quiet mode on for the ESC, but we also would lose just a little bit of low speed control. And this seems like the right amount of low speed control. I would like to see if this is first or second gear. Oh, that's the lights. That was definitely first gear. Cool. I guess that's it. That's an upgrade. As soon as I clean up the wires. So we are done, except for cleaning up the wires. I'm going to call that good. Clean up the wires before I go outside and crawl. And we will see you outside in another video when I go and crawl this with the upgrades. As always, thanks for tuning in. Have a good day.